Welcome to 1956. The earliest boats and outboards I like to work on are really starting in the 70s. I haven't really ever worked on anything from the 50s. So let's see what we can do with her. Today we are going to be working on this 1956 Evinrude Sport Twin. I believe this is a 10 horsepower engine. Oh yeah, also here's the next boat project. As soon as my lake is not a block of ice, we're gonna get going on that. But yeah, let's pop the top on this old girl, see what she looks like. Well, I have no idea how to open the cowling on this thing. I wasn't lying when I say I have no experience with engines this old. Lots of experience working on outboards, but nothing like this, so don't make fun of me. Oh, check that out. Oh man, how cool is that? Oh, this is the funniest thing I've ever seen. I love it. Man, look at that beautiful Evinrude blue though. That is a pretty color. I like that a lot. Got some detailed starting and operating instructions in here. That is sweet. We're gonna need those. A little bit of cobwebs ain't ever hurt nobody. So I am locating a little bit of a cracked fuel line going into the carburetor already, so we're gonna need to address that. It looks like this entire cowling should come off. Looks like I gotta remove the choke to do that, so I'm not gonna do that right now. We'll work around it. And yes, I'm going to work on these outboards in these sweet clothes. Bought it all at Goodwill for $8, and I am committed to the bit and committed to your entertainment. So yes, we are going to rock them all day. I'm gonna make sure she's shifting properly. All right, we are in neutral. Prop is spinning freely, that is great. Forward gear, perfect. And reverse, perfect. I'm not gonna treat this any differently than I would any other outboard, so let's see what the compression numbers are. I would like to quickly thank today's video sponsor, Aura. Have you guys ever Googled yourself or a family member or a friend and been shocked at how much personal information is publicly available? Maybe it was an old address, phone number, just other information that you didn't expect to find. It is absolutely crazy to me how much information is just out there for anyone to find. But just one of Aura's many amazing features is their data broker opt-out. Aura will help you remove your personal information from data brokers and people search sites who sell your data to scammers and thieves. Aura also has amazing identity theft protection. They monitor your personal data to alert you and help stop potential identity theft. Antivirus, VPN, password manager, and more. I get this all in one app at one affordable price. But for real though, guys, this modern digital life we live can be quite intimidating. I am not allowing my personal data to get into the wrong hands. And if you don't want to either, you can go to aura.com/boatbusters and try 2 weeks completely for free. Link is in the description, guys, so go check out Aura. Now back to the video. That was a workout. Pull start is super stiff on this thing. Well, we got about 73, 72 and a half, 73 on the top cylinder. Let's see what the bottom's got. No freaking way. These are literally exactly the same, perfectly even. And this thing is like 70 years old. 70 years old. And this thing is like less than 0.1 PSI apart on each cylinder. That's incredible. You just gotta love Evinrude, man. Before you guys accuse me of buying this thing out of an antique shop or something, I promise this was a barn find. They didn't know much about it at all. Surely this thing does not have spark, right? If it did, it would be one of the most impressive things I've ever seen. Let's find out. And yes, it does have a $200 price tag on it. I know that looks a little bit suspicious, little antique shoppish, but I actually paid $100. $100, pulled it out of a barn. Let's check spark. I did see a little hint of spark on both cylinders there. Just barely any. However, that pull start is almost completely frozen, really hard to pull back. So I'm really not sure if the spark was weak because, you know, something's wrong with the ignition system, or if it's just because I can't pull the dang pull start back very far at all. So first order business, I'm gonna look into this pull start and see if I can't figure that out. And unfortunately, in order to get this pull start looked at, I'm gonna have to find how to get this cowling off. I've been trying to avoid it. And all right guys, after about 5-10 minutes of feeling like an idiot, I finally found a little flathead screw on the end of this choke knob that I didn't see before. I believe that this should get the job done. Haha, that's what we needed right there. Okay, now we have our first unrestricted view of the outboard here with no cowling. Let's see if we can't figure out why this pull start's being a big pain in my butt. All right, easy enough. So I'm slightly confused here. The flywheel itself is pretty dang smooth, and the actual pull start assembly is really good. I'm still not exactly sure what's going on with this pull start, but the outboard is almost impossible to turn over, so I'm gonna pull the spark plugs out so that there's no compression slowing me down and see if that can give me a hint.
A few moments later.
I went ahead and greased up the actual spring inside the recoil start. The plugs are back in now, and I think I've got it a little bit better. Let's see. But yeah, not gonna get myself too worked up over this pull start yet. For all I know, these old engines might not even give you more than that, so we'll move on for now. For now though, our next step is to fix this cracked fuel line so I can hook some gas up to this thing. I also only just now noticed right here behind the fuel intake, that's also completely broken off as well. All right, got a new section of fuel line cut out here. We got her fed through this little hole in the bottom here. Go ahead and pull that through. Put our hose clamp back on. Okay. So now we just got to cut this to size and put it back on this little nipple here. All right, and that job was a certified easy peasy lemon squeezy. All right, we got a little bit of spark, good compression. We should be ready to hook fuel up to this bad boy. Now, what some of you may know or may have noticed about this engine is that there is no fuel pump anywhere on this outboard. So how the heck does this thing stay running? Let me show you. All right, this thing here is called a pressure tank. I got this tank years ago actually, and it's been sitting in the corner of my garage not being used for anything, but I did hold on to it because I thought one day I might need this. And that day has finally come. I really don't know a lot about these things, but I do know is it has two fuel lines, one for fuel and one for air. And the reason I know that is because this one says fuel and this one says air. Also on our connector that connects to the engine, one says fuel, one says air. So I did buy a brand new fuel line for this pressure tank. And being the absolute super genius that I am, I figured the fuel should probably connect to the fuel and the air should probably connect to the air. Seemed like the thing to do. Now it's also got a cool looking little button here that I believe is pumping fuel from the tank into my line. So I have absolutely no clue if this pressure tank works. It's been sitting for years, but there's really only one way to find out. So I'm gonna drop this outboard into some water and see if she starts. All right guys, we got our bucket filled up. We got the pressure tank pressurized, and let's see if this thing runs.
Bruh.
How long were you guys gonna let me pull on that thing before you told me that the spark plug boots weren't on? Not that it made much of a difference. All right, I'm having absolutely no luck at all. This thing won't even pop for me. It's really annoying because I'm just not sure if it's because I can't get it pulled back fast enough, aka a pull start issue. Regardless, 70-year-old engine. I've never actually been inside the carburetor of one this old. So for the sake of my own curiosity and to just mark it off the list of potential issues, let's break into the carburetor. I've got this thing pretty much all the way stripped down. I really haven't seen anything really crazy in here. I mean, a little bit of dirt and gunk here and there, but nothing that should have been preventing this thing from even popping a couple times. This little glass bowl down here though is what's very interesting to me. It's super dirty inside that glass bowl, and I'm trying to figure out how to get in there and clean that out. I don't want to force it because it's glass, but I'll come back when I get it figured out. Okay, I was able to very carefully get this thing off.
A few moments later.
Alright, I got her cleaned up inside there and put that back on. I thought the glass was threaded or something, but it's not. This big contraption is literally just to hold that bowl on. So got that put back together. Alright guys, we may have found our culprit. Check that out. This needle is supposed to drop when the float drops. The needle in there is not falling. We've got a stuck float on our hands. I replaced it with an updated needle, and that is what we want. And here we go, guys. This thing has been fully rebuilt and ready to reinstall on the outboard. Let's throw it back in. And just like that, got everything reinstalled on the outboard. So let's give it a few cranks and see what happens. Uh-oh, that's better than it was. Oh, man. I swear on everything I love doing this, as soon as I start to make any kind of positive progress, it starts pouring rain. Every time. All right, it's slowing down. All right. That was awesome. All right, my dress clothes got soaking wet, so that's a wrap for the 1950s clothing. We are making some progress. Okay guys, we got this engine in a decent spot. It's starting to show signs of wanting to idle, but it still needs a lot of adjustments on the carburetor. But I can't really do that right now because the engine is overheating. I do need to put an impeller in this outboard. However, there is also an issue with that. It is -5 degrees out right now, and it is too cold for me to even feel my hands when I touch the metal. So there's really only one logical thing that we can even do in this situation. I mean, the only option we have that I can see is that we gotta get this freaking kitchen table out of the way and turn my kitchen into an outboard repair shop. All right. Outboard in the kitchen. Got our impeller. We're in a nice, cozy kitchen. Let's get going. Well, we've got this lower unit dropped down, but I don't see any type of flathead or anything holding these rods together. I have no idea how to disconnect the lower unit. I gotta look at this thing a little more and then I'll be right back. Okay, so under further investigation, it looks like there's a little access plate here. I bet if I popped this bad boy off, I'd see the linkage. Let's see. Bingo, there it is. And guys, by the way, if you're also cold in your garage, feel free to bring your engines into the kitchen like this. Your wife is likely going to be very happy with you that you're adding some new decor to the space. She's gonna get a really nice retro farmhouse vibe from it. She will be very happy that you brought your outboard into the house. So make sure you guys subscribe for more helpful tips like that. Okay, let's take a look at what we got in here. Well, here's our old impeller. It's certainly worn and bent. I'd say it's time for a new one. Here's what our new one looks like, by the way. And all right, we got our housing back on nicely. So now we are just going to put our screws back in and get the lower put back up into the engine. And okay, it didn't give us a whole bunch of trouble, but we got our linkage all reconnected. Lower unit is back in place. All right, we got neutral gear. Forward, good, neutral, reverse. Perfect. All right, you guys may have just witnessed the first ever kitchen impeller install. Maybe not the first ever, but first on this channel. If this weather keeps up, there will be more. But for now, let's get this outboard outside, fill up our tank, and hope this solved the overheating issue. See you in a sec. Okay, team, moment of truth. Will she pump water? No longer overheating, I am now going to attempt to get the carburetor completely synchronized, adjust the low speed idle settings, and try and get this thing locked into a really nice idle.
A few moments later.
So good and tasty?
Running perfectly, shifting perfectly, idling super nicely, 70 years later, and this thing is still kicking, dead even compression. She's gonna go another 70 years. This is just so cool. Man, that thing runs good. All right, we are now going to give this outboard a standard service, plugs gear oil, and then we'll talk numbers.